What's going on? This is Kareem from DJBooth.net, and I'm here in the lab to give you guys a quick rundown video review of the new Numark Mixtrack Edge compact and portable digital DJ controller. So what we have here is a full-featured, or almost full-featured, digital DJ controller by Numark, which is their smallest, lightest, and most portable controller in their Mixtrack line of digital DJ controllers. So there are other controllers on the market today that may be smaller than this and maybe easier to travel with than this, but they will not have all of these features that DJs really want and DJs really need today crammed into this nice small package. So what we have is an iPad style shape to it. It's a little bit bigger than an iPad, a little bit heavier than an iPad, but you have a nice hard plastic construction around the base and sides. It's all nice and fitted well, no creaks, no cracks or pops in the plastic. And on the front face we actually have a metal aluminum faceplate here. So you have a nice sleek design. Everything is really flat, as you can tell. There are no buttons or knobs really protruding away from the chassis of the controller, so that way you don't have anything that can bump or knock or shear them off in the case of travel. It also has this nice flap to it. It's like a board type flap that protects all of the control surface, and it just feels really good and easy to store away in a bag with you, or it fits nicely in my laptop sleeve even. So very nice, portable, and sleek. You don't need any power to power it. It works with Mac and PC, and at the moment, even though it does look like an iPad, it does not work with any iOS devices, but they may change that in the future. It comes bundled with virtual DJ LE, but this is a full-out MIDI controller. It's class compliant, meaning that you can program all these buttons and knobs and jog wheels to absolutely anything that you really want to program it to, including a different software of your choice. So next up, after the first impressions, we're going to go with the setup, and the setup is fairly easy. As you can see, with inputs and outputs, we have a USB connection here. You connect that to your computer. You do not need any drivers on a Windows or Mac machine, of course. You just plug it in and it's ready to go. It'll be instantly recognized by your computer. You put in the software onto your computer, and as soon as you plug it in, you're ready to roll. You just have to input the serial key that comes with the Mixtrack Edge, and then you'll be ready to start playing music as long as you have music on your computer. Next up, you have your master output. The master output on this is just a small 1/8" jack, similar to what your headphone is, and it comes with a cable that has a right angle to it, and it has these RCA jacks so that you can plug it into your speakers. You can use various adapters if you need to plug them into different style connectors like 1/8" or XLR, but this is what you'll have to use, this type of connector, in order to use your outputs. It's keeping it with the compact type design, because if you had RCA inputs or if you had any other type of input, it would have to be a lot thicker than what you see here. Next up is your headphone output as well, over here on the side. So it's one of my minor gripes with the unit is that there's not very much in the way of inputs and outputs, but then again, you won't be able to have this style of size and compactness if you wanted to put a bunch of inputs and outputs on the device. So next up, we'll take a closer look and we'll see what it uses and looks like and feels like when we're going to use it with the computer. Alright, so here it is, the Numark Mixtrack Edge, and we'll just go through all of the functions and features and the controls. We'll start out with the mixing section in the middle. In the middle we have the crossfader all the way at the bottom and the line faders here. There is no way to really adjust the curve or the direction of your different tracks. You don't have any type of hamster or reverse switch or anything like that within the software. Perhaps if you upgrade to the Pro software, that's in there, but in the virtual DJ LE there is none of that feature. They do fade gradually till you get to the center point, and then they're both full volume, so it's a pretty nice fade. The fader overall has these really shallow caps, just as with the line faders. Line faders and crossfader feel basically the same. They have the same tension, and they're really loose. but they don't have like a big long cap, so sometimes you find yourself having to push them rather than to grip them. So you're not going to really do any serious type of scratching or really any scratching at all, and this is just mostly just for fading up and down and to get your volume levels correct. You notice there are no line level meters here, and there is no gain knobs. So that's one of my minor gripes with the unit, is that you can't exactly see what your levels of decks are. But Virtual DJ LE does have gain knobs in the software, so you'll be able to adjust them in the software, and they also have the meters are also in the software as well, so that way you will be able to adjust them accordingly, just not on board. Okay, next up you have your Jog Wheel section and your browsing functions and your FX overlay, your shift button. So we'll just go through this section. First up we have a Headphone Cue Switch. You can't cue them both at the same time, but you can cue one or the other. And then you have the same buttons work as a load function to load track A or load track B once you press shift. So if you press shift and the headphone button on this side, you're loading the track to the left deck, and same on the right deck. Next up you have your Jog Wheel section. These buttons will dictate how your jog wheel reacts at the time. You have your cue mix section. When you're in the cue mix, this is for your headphone controls. Therefore, whatever you have going out of your headphones, you can use the jog wheel to adjust between cue, whatever you have queued up, or mix, the master. So that way you can change back and forth between what you're hearing in your headphones using your jog wheel when you're in the cue mix section. Next up is the pitch section. When you're in pitch, you have like a pitch bend mode. So you can speed up the track, or you can slow down the track. And when you want to actually change the pitch itself, you have to press the button.
I just love when I'm with you. Yeah, this shit is on 10. We used to be friends, girl, and even back then you would look at me.
That's how you permanently adjust the pitch. So you permanently adjust the pitch using your pitch dial. You have to hold it down and turn the wheel, and that's how you get your actual pitch control, so you can change your tempo range. You can nudge again by just pressing the pitch, and then you're playing and you fast forward or rewind. Next up you have your browse section. When you're in your browse button, you actually are able to go through all of your folders and your files and the navigation within Virtual DJ, and you have a back button and an open button, so you can go backwards and forwards through your file navigation. Next up, there's an FX button here. When you're in the FX button, you're allowed to do other functions actually with your jog wheels as well. When you're in FX, you see a blue light here. That means that all your other controls that have blue markings under or over them are now in use when you press the FX button. So one of those functions are for the jog wheels. You can actually scratch with these jog wheels. These jog wheels are not touch sensitive. They're actually just movement sensitive, motion sensitive. So you can't really scratch with them, but you do get a scratch sound when you have the FX pressed and you're in scratch mode. Nobody else is. Yeah, this shit belong to. And next up you have a search function now as well. So you can use this almost as like a strip search, where you can search all the way through your song, fast forward or rewind really quickly. And when we have that selected, you can't really see it, but if I'm playing, be friends, girl, and nigga, push it up with easily go through the whole song really quickly by using the jog wheel when we're in that mode for your FX mode. Alright, next up we have, out of FX mode, we have all your volume and your EQ controls. The volume knob all the way to the left is for your headphones, all the way to the right is for your master. These knobs are all plastic, they're very, very shallow, and again you have to kind of push them and pull them instead of actually trying to grip them and turn them. You have your treble and your bass. The treble knob actually controls both the treble highs and the mids, and your bass controls just the bass. This is a full kill EQ as well, so when you do turn them all the way down, they do full kill. Next up, when you have the FX button pressed, you have an FX1 and FX2 parameter knobs now that get adjusted by using these knobs. So these knobs now double as both your EQs and your FX controls as well. Next up, you have your 3 sample banks on the left and your other 3 sample banks on the right. So you have 6 in total, and they're easy to activate. Just press them and you hear the different samples in the banks that you have ready to go. And when you have the FX button selected, you're allowed to go through your different effects. We have flip and double, overloop, backspin, break, echo, flanger, and beat grid. That's what comes in Virtual DJ LE, and you turn your effect on and off by the 3rd button. So you have that on both sides here. Next up is your loop section. You have your loop in, your loop out, and your re-loop. And when you press shift and half or shift and double, you either double the loop or you half the loop. Next up, you have your jog wheels themselves. The jog wheels are a mix of metal and plastic. They do feel pretty good. They are rather small, but you know, in a compact machine, this is more for a person that's on the go or a beginner that's just trying to get their feet wet and learn the basics of beat matching. By the way, there is a sync button on here so that you can sync the tracks together, because it is a little bit awkward, a little bit different trying to go in and use the jog wheel as your pitch controller at the same time when you're using it to nudge and to slow down the track. So just to get the BPMs on correctly. But the jog wheels, they do serve their purpose. They're pretty nice. They're very small, and they just get the job done just for your beat matching needs. Next up, you have your cue points. You have your 3 cue points. They're easily set, and you can get rid of them by pressing the shift and the different hot cue. Next up, you have your sync button, key lock when you shift and press sync. You have your cue button, and then you have your play and pause button, and when you press play and pause with the shift button, it's a stutter. Okay, so in conclusion, the Numark Mixtrack Edge is a really nice, compact, and very, very portable digital DJ controller that, even though it has a small footprint, it has a lot of features here on board, such as loops. You got all your cue points, effects, and you also have a built-in sound card that gives you inputs and outputs. There's a lot of other small and compact digital DJ controllers out there on the market today that do not have an internal sound card, so you need something else in order to use your headphones and a master output at the same time. Whereas the Mixtrack Edge already has that built in. It also comes in at a really good low price point, only $150 in today's market in the United States, and it also has this nice, sleek, really cool looking build quality, and you can store it with you, take it with you in a laptop sleeve. You never need an extra bag for it. Just bring the USB cable with you and you're ready to roll. On the downside though, there are a limited number of inputs and outputs, and input and output style being just a mini connection for the master and the headphone, but at this small footprint there's no other way to do it, so that's one of the negatives. Also on the downside, a lot of your controls are layered here, so meaning you have FX and sample buttons that are on the same button, so in order to use them both at the same time, you won't be able to do it here on this controller. You have to switch back and forth from one function to the other. And my last minor gripe of the unit is that there is no gain controls in order to control your absolute volume, and there's also no level meters so that you can see exactly where your volume is in the mix. The Virtual DJ LE software does have an auto gain feature, and there are gain controls actually in the software, but there are none on board here in this controller. But at the end of the day, this is a very small controller. It's very sleek, it's very lightweight, it's portable, and you're not going to have every single control that you need on this. This is going to be recommended to DJs who just want a nice small controller. They may want to use it to MIDI map other things in their software, because this is a fully MIDI mappable controller, or it's good for a beginner DJ that just wants to bring something with them on the go, and they want it to be very lightweight, very compact, and easy to store and bring with them in a tight spot. So for more on the full written review, you can head on over to the actual website at the link at the top of this video description. It's www.djbooth.net/DJS. And you can also check back Monday through Friday where we update for production equipment and DJ equipment. And we'll have all your news, videos, unboxing, and reviews right there on the site. Check us out, and thanks for watching.